Welcome back to the Jungle Jumps podcast. You're with me, Paddy, and Anthony. Post-match review of Celtic 0 and Livingston 0. So our pre-match predictions certainly never came true. I think both of us had said that we expected a 3-0 victory. Celtic, and that was certainly blown out the water. So on to the result. McGinty 0-0. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, as you said, we both predicted that 3-0 win before the game, and it did not come to fruition. It didn't look like we're ever going to get a goal, let alone three, unfortunately. We started a little bit slow, I think, but not poorly. We built into the game, frantic. But no matter what we did, we just didn't seem like we wanted to score, as seen by a couple of missed opportunities. It's disappointing. It's dropped points. We talked earlier about how we were playing the game in front of the Rangers game. It was time to put a little bit more pressure on them. Yeah, we're 1 point behind. It's 1 point gain, but it's 2 points dropped, really. Any sort of result for them keeps them in front. So if nothing happens tomorrow, they stay in front. So it's dropped opportunities, missed opportunity.
I think it's quite telling. I mean, for me, that result today actually feels like a defeat. That's how bad that is, especially for the fact that we could have, if we'd have capitalised on that game today and won it, we could have been sitting top, and then that puts the pressure on the other crowd tomorrow. So that's definitely up there as bad as a defeat for me. Obviously, it's no, because we got a point, but come on, a point at Parkhead against Livingston. It's just.
I mean, we spoke earlier about the fact that this is a tough team to play against, which is true. They made it a hard game. Somebody else also made it a hard game, which I'm sure we'll talk about later on. But for us, the result's just not good enough. I've spoke about this 8-game run, and ideally I wanted to win all 8 games. I'm realistic that we weren't likely to win all 8 games, although it is a possibility. So we've dropped points. It's not the end of the world, but yeah, opportunity missed, and we need to dust ourselves off and get going again.
Right, okay. Let's get into performances then. So, how did you rate the Celtic individuals' performances, players?
Individually, I can't say many had a bad game. A few didn't have great games. Let's say that. Turnbull, for me, didn't have a great game. We were hoping he was going to step up into that number 10 role. Giakoumakis, we were both excited, I think, to see what he could do with another start, playing the leading role. A lot of good support from Abada and Jota. Jota, I thought, was amazing again in parts. But I think individually, Giakoumakis and Turnbull, they didn't do enough today. The style didn't suit them. Our way of playing, our way of playing with the crosses into Giakoumakis, it kind of meant that Turnbull was doing nothing at times. He went missing a lot. And then Giakoumakis just wasn't getting on the end of any of these crosses. At one point, you had to concede that the plan wasn't working as such. And eventually we did change it. We made a couple of substitutions just before the hour mark, which credit where it's due. Positive attacking options. Beaton goes to the back, obviously, who overall is an individual performance from Neil Beaton. Again, not terrible, but not enough. I think we're seeing from Neil Beaton and Giakoumakis, I think we're definitely now seeing the type of players they both are, and they're the impact sub-players in some capacity. Giakoumakis to break down the defensive line late on in the game if we have to. Neil Beaton to slow the game down when we have to. But as starters for an attacking 11 at Celtic Park, neither of them were good enough. Neither of them were adding anything to the flowing attacking football we should be playing on such a big, wide open pitch.
Well, we spoke about that before the game, didn't we? We said that this is a kind of different pitch, as you would expect, coming from your usual Livingston, Tony Macaroni Stadium, coming to Celtic Park. It's a big, wide open pitch. And we would look to take advantage of the kind of wide areas, especially when you look at Livingston, who were probably going to operate with a tight, compact defensive unit, which they did. Our game plan seemed to be just try and get down the wings, try and exploit that that space, and we did it kind of successfully. I mean, Ralston, I thought, was really, really good the first half. I mean, he was driving forward, he was getting by his man, he was putting some decent crosses in, but then you're looking at who was there to kind of try and get in the end of the crosses, and we expected Giakoumakis with his physical presence, his height, his strength to get in there and try and get in front of the defenders. But you looked at Livingston's defence, it was almost like you were watching like a Roman centurion film. You know what I mean? They just set up just to totally nullify us in every single capacity. Some would probably call it anti-football, which it probably is, right enough. But I think what Livingston did was play to their strengths, and they totally just frustrated us. And that's exactly what it was the full match. It was just totally frustrating to watch it. The longer it went on, it just seemed that we were trying just exactly the same things over and over again. Try and get out to the left, try and get out to the right, put crosses in, and it wasn't happening. So when were we going to change it? We weren't going to change it at all. Turnbull, for me, was a total passenger. He should have been the guy who, as we spoke about earlier, he was taking up Tommy Rogic's mantle because he's out injured. How many times did he drive forward? How many times did he try and drive through the centre? How many times did he try and at least get a shot off at the goalkeeper? How many times did we test the goalkeeper? It was really, really poor. They just totally relied on the white boys. Jota was trying his heart out. Wasn't great, but he was trying. Who else? Ralston, the likes of that on the right. Abada had a very average game, I think. A couple of times he beat his man, and he drove inside a wee bit, but his end product was just wasn't there, and it was the same with Jota. In fact, it was the same with everybody. There was no end product, and that's the reason why we've failed to capitalise on this position that we were in this morning, where we could have went top of the league.
It seemed like there was, as you say, there was one plan to begin with, which we all knew what the plan was going to be. It was to get the ball to the wide areas, get the crosses in, and look to get to the big man Giakoumakis to get on the end of it. We said it in the preview earlier on. Get that ball in, get the crosses in. He's the right kind of guy at the right height, at the right position to get a goal. It never worked, but we all saw it not working in the first half, and yet we kept persisting with it. Credit where it's due. We made the double substitution at the 56th, 57th minute. It was early in the second half. It looked positive. 2 attackers coming on. But we've done the same thing. We left Giakoumakis on, and we seemed to still go down the wings and cross the ball in, when what we really needed to do was get the ball in the middle and start stretching them through. Play the ball behind the defensive line sort of thing. Split the defence. Get the through ball, the kind of reverse passes and stuff. Try and get the runs to pull the centre-backs apart at times to create the space for Giakoumakis or Kyogo. We just never seem to go that way. As you said, we just constantly seem to go back to the wings and cross the ball in and see if Giakoumakis could do anything, which it never worked for the first hour, it never worked for the last half hour. And Kyogo is a small guy. That is never going to work for Kyogo.
So that's why I said previous to the game starting that I was quite happy to see Giakoumakis starting, because he should have been able to get in there and hustle and bustle with the defenders, try and at least drag one of them off to get somebody running by him to make some space. But nobody made that space. There was nobody driving through for the centre mid. Turnbull was literally just there to get the ball and pass it out wide.
He was a bit of a passenger, to be honest. And I like the boy, but he was a bit of a passenger. I'll read you a couple of stats out just to kind of try and highlight how much of this wasted opportunities we must have had. 85% possession to 15. We constantly had that ball. We had 171 attacks to their 51, of which I think it was 110 are deemed dangerous attacks to their 18. We were phenomenally more attacking and better, but the attacks were always the same. And as you got up there as the kind of subject point here, the Livingston wall there, it was park buses, 2 defensive lines of 5 and 5 sort of thing. We were never getting through it, and we've seen it so many times at Celtic over the years. Ball to the wide, cross it in, nobody really there to get on the end of it. We expected Giakoumakis to be that guy. He wasn't. It didn't work. I'm not being harsh critical on the guy. It just didn't work, but we never did anything to change that.
You certainly missed Rogic today. Absolutely.
Oh,
He
100%.
he
I think
he,
he gives you
he
that run through the middle, that split and pass. He gives you that turn ball. He's not quite there.
Well, as you said, Rogic will give you that kind of split and pass. But what he also does is when we're playing against a tight kind of unit, Rogic will be able to find that space and he'll be able to kind of cut through it like a hot knife on butter. If it's no his passes, it's his movement. We just didn't get that today.
See what I loved when Mikey Johnson comes on, just to try and complement Rogic even more. When Mikey come on, his footwork was a joy to watch at times, dancing between defenders coming off that left side into the central positions along the edge of the 18-yard box. He tried to beat maybe 2 or 3 players, and he would get dispossessed. There was nobody there to pick up the slack, which was what Turnbull should have been doing. Whereas if you had Rogic there, his footwork is just as silky as what Mikey's is, if not better. I think if you got Mikey running in like that, loses possession, Rogic picks it up and can continue that silky run forward. I think that puts them on the back foot. They don't know how to deal with that more. So we definitely missed Rogic. There's nothing we can do. He's pulled his hammy. He's out for a few weeks. There's nothing we can do about that.
Yep, he's pulled his hamstring. And unfortunately, to top off a great day at the office, totally ironically speaking, Carol Starfelt went off as well with a hamstring injury. We started off the midfield with Beaton, who's the holding midfielder. Callum McGregor obviously moved on ever so slightly further forward in the pitch because of the Rogic injury, and Turnbull was ahead of him. But whenever Starfelt went off, Near Beaton moved back into centre back, and at that point, Mikey Johnson and Kyogo had come on, and that was for Abada and Jota, I believe. It was just. See, when I seen Kyogo lining up to come on, I thought, right, okay. Postecoglou's looked at us and he saw that the one man up front isn't working, albeit Giakoumakis, taller guy, stronger guy, he's still not getting any joy out of that black wall, as we said at Livingston's defence. So when I seen Kyogo coming on, I thought, right, good. Manager's thinking here, he's going to put Kyogo up front with Giakoumakis and then still try, even if he's going to try his wing play, at least you've got another man there to try and kind of break up that 25-man defence by the looks of it for Livingston. But it was still the same. We just tried to go out to the wings every time. Even when Mikey Johnson came on, and you know yourself, he usually plays at left wing. He drives into inside. Every time he get the ball, he had 2 and 3 guys on him.
Yeah.
And you could see like that nothing was coming off. You could see he was getting frustrated, and then that in turn led to Johnson having slack passes. There was nobody moving. Nobody was trying to offer an outlet for anybody through the centre. And as I say, so many times that we get the ball through the wings, we tried to cross it and it didn't work. It didn't work for 60 minutes, as you said. So we kept trying it for 90 minutes. That tells me that we had no plan B. There was nobody through the centre willing to at least take a long range effort at the goalie and try and trouble him. There was nothing. It was just totally just like blinkered, like, you know, like you've got the horses with the blinkers on. They just wanted to play one way, and that was it.
Which is annoying because I'm convinced Ange is better than that, as far as you say, a plan B to some degree. I don't want to keep labouring on a bit, but yeah, we just, as you keep saying there, Paddy, we kept getting the ball out wide, one plan, one move. That's all we kept doing. There's nobody in the middle, and I think I hate being harsh on the boy, but I think we do need to be harsh on the boy Turnbull, because that's what he should have been doing. That's what he was there for, is the number 10, a link between midfield and attack, a link between the wide areas and the central, to collect the ball, to drive forward, to turn on the ball, sort of thing. And he really didn't offer anything of the sort. Did he offer a bit more when he went back into midfield, central midfield, when Beaton went to the back after the Starfelt injury? Probably not, to be honest.
No.
But to give a comparison, because we're all frustrated right now, to give a comparison to how we used to play last season or the last few seasons, we would be passing that ball around the back line 8 or 9 times, playing the possession game and getting nowhere. To be a little bit fair, we had everybody in between the Livingston defence and the midfield trying to get into the lines. We would just never had the zip of the ball. We never had the energy of the urgency to do it. It was always just going back out wide and hoping for the same move. Nobody was able to get the ball in. For me, is that the big thing that Turnbull should have done? The number 10, the Rogic role. Do we need better? Ange Postecoglou, I think earlier on we saw, had alluded to that as well. That is an area of the pitch that maybe we're going to look at in January. And I think maybe it is, because Turnbull's not doing it for me there. He's good in midfield, central midfield, he's quite good, but we missed something in that middle, that creative spark there.
But just exactly what you said there, that's something that we spoke about previously. Us as a group, we don't think that Turnbull has performed anywhere near the levels that he should be this season. I mean, he came in last season, literally played half a season, and he was my best player. This season, he just seems to be kind of going through the motions. I mean, even the last game against Hibs, he set up 2 goals, magnificent, great balls. What did he do today? What did he do against Hibs apart from those 2 goals? It was the same kind of performance. He's almost he's just kind of he's driving further up the park, but what he's doing is as soon as he drives up the park, he goes wide every single time. You know what I mean? The guys get the ability to go and shoot at goal, and he doesn't do it. It's the same with Callum McGregor. Yeah. No, I think Callum McGregor should have took a wee bit took the game by the scruff of the neck, if you want to call it that. I think he should have been the one that was driving forward and there. I know he's probably going to deviate away if he's role in the midfield, but as captain, I think he should have been the one to say, right, let's go here. Let's go through the centre because nothing's happening out the wings and nothing changed.
I think he should be and lead by example, as we see. He's definitely a good captain for Celtic just now. It's early days, but I think he's the right choice for who we have at the club. And I think he's a good captain. I think he's shown a lot of good leadership skills. But to be honest, Paddy, if he took this game by the scruff of the neck in such a way, I think he would have been sent off. Not through his own fault, but purely because he was giving away fouls when he wasn't even tackling anybody. He was getting tackled himself at one point, and he gave away a foul. How? The Livingston player comes in from the right-hand side, slightly behind, puts in the tackle. The Livingston player decks himself. Giakoumakis raises the challenge, and the foul goes against Giakoumakis. Somebody tell me how that happens.
I'll tell you how. His name's Brother Beaton. Or Bad Beaton.
No, the other one. The other one.
No Beaton, sorry. What do you call him? What's his name?
Madden.
Madden. Sorry, excuse me.
Madden was this weekend's issue. And for me, I never want to blame the ref for us dropping points, losing the game. And he is not the reason we dropped points today.
No.
Being unable to, us not having that other option, us constantly going down the wing with that cross to Giakoumakis, who was going hiding, as some of the comments are saying there as well. We are reading your comments, guys. We lost the points in this game, but we were not given a fair crack at this game either when it comes to the referee's performance. That referee performance today was one of the worst I've seen in many years, and we've all seen some bad performances. How does Giakoumakis get tackled, yet he's the one who gives the foul away? It happened with Kyogo in the second half. He gets fouled. Sorry, not Kyogo. I think it was Turnbull who got fouled. No, it was. Sorry, I'm mixing up two different situations here, guys. I do apologise. Kyogo gets fouled at one point in the second half, and he gives away the free kick again somehow. You've got the Livingston boy. I think it was the one who eventually got sent off. He goes in, studs showing knee high in the first half. It's a straight yellow card, arguably a red, but it's a straight yellow card. Not even a word spoken to him. He does another tackle in the second half, which is from behind, I think, on Turnbull, where he's late to the ball and he takes a swipe and he actually kicks the legs out from the Celtic player. It's another straight yellow card. That guy should have been off, yet he's still on the pitch to this point where he's able to slap the back of Kyogo. And I think only because of how obvious that was is the only reason he went off with a red card. He wouldn't have got sent off if he had done it more sly, if the referee didn't catch it as such. But it's so open and so obvious he had to do that because the referee was adamant not to give us anything all game. You look at the Ralston throw-in foul incident in the on the right-hand side. Ralston gets fouled. The Livingston player is the last one to touch the ball. The ball goes out for a throw-in to Livingston. How? How have we got 85% possession, yet we've both given away 10 fouls each, Livingston and Celtic? I don't understand how a team can have that level of possession, yet have created so many apparent fouls. It is madness.
As you said earlier, the referee performance was not the reason why we have made a total arse at today, but it can't be overlooked how bad his performance was again.
It was shocking.
And this is a guy that continually referees our games, and he continually is a talking point. Even if you think it's honest mistakes or anything else more sinister, this guy is always a talking point when he's refereeing us. So that in turn shows you exactly what this guy is all about. He's just to put it as basically as possible. He's a very, very poor referee. Very, very poor. Anything
I think you're being nice to him by saying that.
No, that's what I'm saying. Just on a basic level, he's a very, very poor referee. If you want to discuss anything else other than that, that's your opinion. But on a basic level, he's a shocking, shocking referee. And that's
most referees in Scotland are.
Aye, but he's one of the highest rated referees in this country. You know what I mean?
Was there not a point a couple of years ago that there was no referees from Scotland who had been taken to like a European Championship or called into the European competitions or something? There was something happened a couple of years ago where it was like noticeably Scottish referees were left out of a group tournament. So I think it may be in the Euros, which I think is quite telling that your referees don't get called up to these things because they're just not up to scratch. On a basic level, as you said, Paddy, they're not up to scratch. But I'll go one further. I know, I hope we read later on that Ange has called something out because other managers this season have already called out referees' performances. But I wouldn't expect too much from this club, unfortunately, in that sense. But I'll call it out. I'll call it as more sinister than what it is. It's blatant cheating from the referees, and it's blatant cheating from the referee association who are allowing this to go unchecked. This needs sorted. Call it as little as you want. You can call it. They're just shite. It needs called out because to me, it's more than just being shite. It's sinister. It's biased. It's cheating. I'll call it that.
Well, as I say, on the total low level, it's shocking referee. But I think if you were to ask the majority of the Celtic fans, they would probably tell you there's possibly ulterior motives to it. But how do we resolve this? How do we pinpoint it? How do we approach this by saying, look, these guys are either seriously so bad that they shouldn't even be refereeing a child's game, never mind a senior professionals game in this country, or do you know what I mean? There's no other than getting Varane, which is going to take until about 2023 to get implemented.
Yeah.
There's no way that we can kind of call this out for the in-game refereeing. If you do, you're either called a paranoid idiot or anything kind of similar to that.
Not paranoid enough, Paddy. Not paranoid enough.
You're right.
A wee shout out to my boy Mickey there. How you doing, pal? Yeah, not paranoid. Aye, not paranoid enough. We'll get some people who might watch this and have a joke and a laugh and jibe us. I'll take that because this is a serious talking point for me now. We are going back years and years and years of this stuff, from the Cadetti registration, the Dougie dialysis emails about the Pope. You've got penalties that are getting given against us and for a certain team while the referee's back is turned. Willie Collum, Daniel Mostorovic gets run into by the Rangers player. The Rangers player decks it. Referee's got his back literally turned to it, blows for a penalty. Can't even give that. You've never seen it. What else you had? Like penalty shouts everywhere. Today's game. This is not just one-off things. These are continuous issues that are continually going on. This is, for me, not paranoid enough. And I'll go back to say it again. This is not why we lost today's game. We were not good enough in our attack and play. We didn't have the creative spark in the number 10 role. We didn't do enough to deserve the win. But there was so much happened in that game that we didn't get officiated fairly. We weren't given the fair opportunity to play a fair game of football.
McGinty, excuse me for one moment. Just please continue on that train of thought with the viewers.
Yeah, we'll do. So I don't want to labour up too much on it because at the end of the day, we can only play to our strengths. And as I was saying earlier, guys, we needed to be better. We needed a plan B as such, and we didn't have that with Ange today. And sometimes I think we need to question that. Has Ange got the plan B? Is he able to do more with this team going forward? Has he got the has he got something in his lock to change the game? He done good to bring on the substitutions, I think, at the right time. There you go with Sean Ross. There was no SFA's refs in the summer. I thought it was that one at the Euros. I thought that was the case. So yeah, I think that's quite telling. I think you also quite telling with we'll just go back onto the referees' points there. That it was a few years ago. I think one of the newspapers ran the story, and they ran it almost jokingly that all Scottish referees actually failed a basic test, an in-house test. They all failed it, and yet they still all kept their jobs. They still all got the high-profile games. This is a fundamental issue with these referees. They are just poor, poor, to be say the least. Yeah, Paddy, that just came in from Sean Ross there. I was right in my thinking there was no referees at the Summer Euros, which is quite a point to make that our referees were not up to scratch to get into that competition.
Well, I think what we'll do with that is we shall probably save that conversation for our weekly roundup there when we've got plenty of time.
We'll get back onto that one.
Plenty of time to go into depth on that. But what we'll do is we'll go back to the game. So we've covered a lot of that there. A man who is going to be on the end of a lot of Celtic fans' tongues tonight is going to be Giakoumakis. We spoke about him before the game, and I thought personally that he was going to be, a big game player today. As I said, talking about his physicality, his presence, top goal scorer, Eredivisie last season. I thought he had a really, really poor game today. And there was obviously a serious talking point that we'll get on in a wee bit. But do you think his display was so flat today because of the black wall, as we called it, the Livingston defence? They literally had like 10 guys in the defensive area at all times. So it
never worked the way we wanted. I can't fault Ange for starting the game in that way. But as we were alluding to earlier with the no plan B, he never changed it when it wasn't working. But you can't fault him for starting that way. We looked at that team of Livingston and we knew they were going to be solid defensively. We thought we'll put the big guy up there and we'll go for the cross balls, the height, the kind of bullying of the defence. And it could have worked. It should have worked, but it didn't. For me, he showed a lot of promise early on in the game. He had the overhead effort that he tried in the first few minutes. He then had the ball out to the left corner flank, where he done really good to control the ball, really good to then steal the ball back off Livingston player, but just not enough to keep it in, and it goes out for the goal kick. So I liked his early touches. I liked what he was trying to do early on, but he wasn't getting the right connection or the right support from the guys around him, the wide players, Turnbull, for examples. And I think he eventually posted missing. We were doing the same labour thing over and over, and it just wasn't working for him. I don't want to be overly critical. Again, I feel like I always say this about guys like Turnbull and the likes. But I can't help keep feeling that my initial doubts that last season might have been a purple patch. Because if you are scoring 30-plus goals in the Dutch league, especially for the team who comes last and goes down, they're kind of half expecting that he's able to tuck the ball away. And what better opportunity do you have to tuck the ball away than from the penalty spot? That was a poor penalty. Very poor penalty.
So, as you said earlier, excuse me. So Kyogo gets slapped in the head in the box. Defender has an absolute moment of madness, and even an official as abysmal as Madden couldn't deny as a penalty there. Giakoumakis, for some reason, he steps up to take the penalty, and it's extremely tame. There's no power behind it. There's no conviction. It was almost like a pass back to the goalkeeper. As John Hartson said, John Hartson said that during the commentary at the end of the game. He says players miss penalties. Players have missed penalties at World Cups. Any player that steps up to the penalty spots get a 50-50 chance either scoring or missing. But my issue is, why was Giakoumakis taking that penalty? Juranovic was on the park. Juranovic took the last penalty and scored it. He scored a penalty previous to this. Why was Juranovic not taking the penalty?
I have no idea. As I said a moment ago, he scores that many goals last season. You expect that he's comfortable taking a shot with some sort of conviction. But as you said, it was more like a pass back. It lifted maybe about 3 or 4 yards off the deck and floated almost into the keeper's hands. The keeper could have scratched his arse, lit up a cigarette, and then dived for that ball. It was a weak penalty. Why was Juranovic not taking it? Lord knows. It's almost like penalties taken this season as a raffle, along with the lift back opportunity. We've had a few plays. Kalmak lost a penalty. Juranovic scores the penalty, and then Giakoumakis is now taking them. Why? I would have had Jota taking it. I would have had. In fact, Jota was off at that point. But you had Kyogo on. You had Mikey on. You still had Kalmak on if you wanted to let him do it. Mm-hmm. As you said, Juranovic scored the one the other day. It baffled me. It truly baffled me.
Well, I didn't see any sort of a tension or any arguments when Giakoumakis lifted the ball. So you're assuming that has been agreed prior to the game starting. That if we get a penalty, then Giakoumakis is the man. I can understand that if he's maybe putting them away in training, but usually when you've got a guy who's usually if your penalty taker scores a penalty, then he's the man that takes the next penalty until he misses the next game.
So what you were saying...
Juranovic scored the penalty. He's not even get the chance to take it again. That's it.
So your hypothesis there was, has it been decided before the game that Giakoumakis is going to take this penalty? Sure, maybe it has. That's fair. That's understandable. But if that's the way that we're deciding who's a penalty taker, who the fuck decided Juranovic was taking the first one the other day? At what point did the discussion the other day go, who's the penalty taker this week, guys? And Juranovic puts his hand up first. Is that how it worked? Because if you're deciding who takes it before the game, and you've got attackers on the other day like Jota, like Kyogo, why are they not taking it ahead of Juranovic? There must have been a reason Juranovic was stepping up the other day to take the penalty. So for that same reason, should he not have stepped up today? Doubled up by the fact that he scored the penalty the other day?
Well, Ange said that Juranovic was taking the penalty because he showed in training that he can take penalties. He stepped up to take the penalties in training, never missed a penalty. Therefore, he was the allocated penalty taker. But then,
so in the last 4 days, how many penalties has Giakoumakis scored in training?
That's my point. That's exactly my point. The old adage is that if you score your penalty, you're the allocated penalty taker. If you don't miss, then you take the next penalty. Aye.
But
listen,
for me,
we'd be talking a different game if Giakoumakis scored today, right? That's fair
of course
enough.
We would.
But he didn't. It was a shocking
but he
penalty,
didn't, and that's the fact.
And especially at the time of taking the penalty, which was like 2 minutes to go or something, even less than that.
Less than that. Aye.
Does that say something about Giakoumakis' mentality? That's my thinking. Has he stepped up to the plate and his arse has collapsed? More to the point.
Possibly, but then that's going to be a confidence issue that might bite us in the arse as we go forward. For me, just a last point on generally penalty taking. For me, there's 3 ways to take a penalty. 3 ways to decide who takes your penalty. 1, you're the designated penalty taker for the season, or until that changes.
Your hierarchy.
2, your hierarchy. 2, you've won the penalty, you get to take it. Or 3, you're the designated penalty taker until you miss it, and if you miss it, it moves on to the next guy. And you do a little bit of a rotation thing. So you either stick by the one guy all season, you let the person who wins it takes it, or you move on as a rotation. When you miss, you move on. Otherwise, I mean, you score a penalty, you don't get to take the next one. It seems baffling that Juranovic didn't take it.
I'm certainly in the mindset that Juranovic took the last penalty. He's obviously clearly been identified as a penalty taker. Why did he not take the penalty again? It's just excuse me. We spoke about kind of chopping and changing before the game, and we spoke about where it's been positive where it's been negative. The negative was the defensive area with the chop and change at left back, which we seem to have had a kind of steady ship for the last few games. Obviously, that's out the window now because Starfelt's out with a hamstring. So now you're going to be looking at, is the replacement centre-back going to be Beaton? Is it going to be Stephen Welsh? It'll probably be Beaton.
Unfortunately, yeah, probably. And I, again, not being harsh on Beaton, probably it will be. For me, I think Welsh has been dealt quite a bad hand here. He was the number one centre-back for all the early season stuff, all the qualifiers and then for the first few games. And then he seems to be dropped for Starfelt coming in with Carter Vickers at the end of the transfer window, which seems a bit harsh because Welsh never did anything wrong. And at this point, there's an opportunity to allow Welsh to come back in. I would like to see it be Welsh. But it's more, like you say, Paddy, it's more likely it's going to be Neil Beaton.
The only kind of positive, I say positive, the only kind of shiny, the only kind of options you've got now with Starfelt being injured is that you've got Beaton there, you've got Stephen Welsh here, you're going to have Christopher Julian hopefully coming back very, very soon. But again, he's another player that's going to take a wee bit to get up to speed. So, again, this is you back to a defensive issue again, a defensive problem, because your first choice centre-back of a pairing is now out. So there's going to be more chop and changing. Is there going to be more chop and changing at the left back? Is the right back going to get chopped and changed? You move forward, Kyogo started on the bench today. I don't personally think I would have started him on the bench. I would have probably continued him on either on the right-hand side or the left-hand side, even if you're going to start Giakoumakis. That's the manager's call. He's made the call. He's made the choice to start Abada and Jota and Giakoumakis. I don't know why he dropped Kyogo unless it was some sort of fitness issue or maybe took a wee niggle. Kyogo comes on though, seems absolutely fine. He goes on and plays almost more of a kind of off the centre kind of position. But I don't mind rotation on a squad, but it's got to be justified, and it's got to show that it can be fruitful. And today was just like for like. It didn't matter whether you started Kyogo on the left or Johnson on the left or Jota on the left, Abad on the right, James Forrest who came on, which we'll mention in a wee second. The game plan was just exactly the same. It was bring the ball out for centre, for your defence, get down the wings and try and put a cross in, which was totally bamboozling. I mean, you and I could see that after about 25, 30 minutes. I'm pretty sure the majority of the Celtic support that was watching the game today, either in the stadium or on streams or whatever, that crosses into the park weren't they working. Down to the manager for me. The manager has made a boo-boo with his in-game change his in-game management. He's made a couple of decent substitutions. That's fair enough. But there was no change in the forward play. There was no change in strategy. Everything just remained the same. It was a status quo. And again, we've been tactically outdone by fucking David Martindale at Livingston. Come on to fuck. It's awful. It was almost, do you know what it was like? It was almost as if we took the forum that we have been playing at Livingston and took it to what Ange Stadium, which is unforgivable for me. I think it's
we lacked that. This brings it full circle. We lacked that energy and urgency that we saw at the start of the season that we all loved, and I think we all felt like once you got Cal Mack and Kyogo back and even Jimmy Forrest back, that we might start seeing that zip, that energy, that urgency to stretch the defences that we're coming up against. And it shows in part. I think we're definitely more positive in attacking options than we were the last couple of seasons. But where was the plan B as such? Because you're right in what you're saying, it just wasn't working. And I think it definitely, to bring it back to the start of this conversation as we started it, we just don't have that creative ball. When Roderick's not there, that creative number 10 just, that wasn't there at all with Turnbull. And the only option we seemed to have was going out wide. We bring Turnbull back into the central midfield position. We put Kyogo on, who plays off Giakoumakis, but we still don't have that number 10 creative out ball. So the ball kept going out wide. So Kyogo being on the pitch was almost pointless because he's not getting on the end of balls that are going to be crosses designed for Giakoumakis. He gets on the end of a different kind of ball, which is the ball that Abada brings, the driving forward, the zip across the front of the defence or behind the defence as such, and Kyle gets on the end of it, just direct it into the back of the goal. But by that point, Abad is coming off, and Forrest is coming on. So the whole point just seemed mute at points. It just didn't seem to work, and hopefully we see better going forward. But I think it's highlighting a few things for us. One, rotation of the players isn't working the way that we want it to. We need to stick to the 11 that we can. Kyle through the middle has to be the option because he's now played left, he's now played right, he's now played the supporting role, and it just isn't working. He plays magnificently up front on his own with the support of Abada and Jota driving forward. Turnbull's showing up that he's not quite at the level we need him to be. I have faith that it will come good eventually, but it's showing that we need another creative midfielder. We need another defensive midfielder. We need so much more reinforcements in that midfield. It's very telling what we're lacking just now.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, today we could have literally played with no defenders. There was no, excuse me, there was no attack intent for Livingston. They were literally just all about nullifying us and just soaking up everything that we had to offer. And they did it perfectly, to their credit.
Yeah.
But I find that more negative on our part, because as much as they did well, they shouldn't come to Celtic Park and deploy that kind of tactic without us having any response. And our response was just to play into their hands every single time. As I said earlier, I thought Ralston actually had a good game. He was driving forward. He seemed to be the one that was providing the most outlet, albeit it was down the wings. He was getting by people. He was putting crosses on, which was great, but there was nobody there getting on the end. Giakoumakis wasn't getting in front of the defenders. But even at that, Giakoumakis was dealing with 3 defenders, 2 defenders, 4 defenders. It was the same when Mikey Johnson came on. He was an attacking threat for the left-hand side. Every single time he got the ball, it was 2, 3, 4, and 5 Livingston defenders. You looked at their shape. I think it was a 4-4-2 they were playing, or it might have been a fucking 4-5-1. But you looked at how close their backline was, and their midfield was almost literally parallel.
Yeah, they weren't giving as much.
And every time that we stepped forward, Livingston were like this, just moving back every single time. And their defence was so compact, their midfield was so compact, and there wasn't much of a space in between it. And that's where we fell into their hands, because we never had anybody driving through the centre. We never had anybody taking off any long kind of speculative shots to even trouble the goalkeeper.
I think that's where it comes back to Kyle needs to be going through the middle, because he provides that run behind. He provides that opportunity to stretch the defence with his runs, and complemented by a guy like Rogic who can make those passes. He can use his twinkle toes to dance around and through players. He's able to create that space. Turnbull can't. Giakoumakis can't stretch the defence. We're noticing that today. I think it's definitely where we need to rectify. We need to grow on. We need to become better on. We can't get better with the players we have just now because, well, bigger issues at the club for the backroom staff, unable to coach and develop. So we need to go buy these players. I think January, that's where we're going to see a focus on. And that and a left back, because apparently we don't have enough of those.
Well, I would slightly disagree with you. I think that we do have the players there to go and win a game. But when the players are showing, like today, that you're coming up against the Blackwall, the Livingston defence, the Livingston midfield, who are all tight and compact, you're getting plenty of space down the wings. Your Turnbull's getting the ball, and all he's doing is spreading it wide. Callum McGregor stepping forward, all he's doing is spreading it wide. James Forrest came on, and he was about the only one that made kind of any slight difference. He was getting in behind guys, and he was putting the ball into. He was almost cutting it back into the centre, which was good. But excuse me again, we never had anybody capitalise on that. I think I'm putting a lot of blame on Postecoglou today, because he's the man on the sidelines. He's watching it all. Now, if I'm seeing that, you're seeing that, average Joe on the street seeing that, how is the man on the sidelines not seeing that? Why is he not telling his midfielders, drive through the centre? You're not getting any joy in the wings. Go through the centre. Do something. Have a pop at the goalkeeper. Even fucking Carter Vickers, look, but we've not got any threat in the defence. Carter Vickers, you're a big strong guy. You run up the centre. Go and try and have something. Go and take a pop. Go and try and bully a couple of defenders. Try and drag somebody off. Go and try and create an opening. You're not expecting fucking Moses part in the Red Sea type opening, but for fuck's sake, every single time
somebody create something out of it.
Right, every single time he's doing the wings and just nothing through the centre. But
we have opportunities coming forward, Paddy, to rectify this. We've got a couple more games coming up. I think we're looking at Ferencváros coming up on Thursday night. That's going to be away. That's in Hungary, so it's going to be a tough game for us. I think we know this is going to be a tough game. They're a better outfit than we first imagined last year, but it's winnable. We've shown that we can beat this team. We've then got Dundee coming up next weekend, followed by St Johnstone the week after in the Cup. So there's three. These are the last 3 games in my 8-game gauntlet that I'm laying down for the team in Ange here. And the 3 games are definitely winnable. And if we win all 3 of these games, we show that we're learning, as Sean Ross in the comments is saying that mistakes have been made, but we're learning from these. We go forward and we win these next 3 games. I still believe we're on the right track here. I still think we're in a good position going forward if we learn.
Well, we're going to have to learn fast, because today was a great opportunity for us to at least lay down a marker, go top of the league. We've not done it. We've shot ourselves in the foot. We're now 2 points. Is it 2 points behind top spot?
One behind.
One point behind. We are now in top spot, and the Rangers, they've got a game tomorrow.
Unfortunately, it doesn't matter what they do. They're going to still be top after this weekend. But let's just hope that they drop points themselves, so it's still within 1 game that we can still have it in our hands.
But this is the thing: you could have at least laid down a marker the day, went top, and say, right, over to yous. Let's see what yous can do.
Exactly.
We never done that. We just totally fucking shot ourselves in the foot. So we're really going to have to regroup, get our fingers out, get our act together, and just try our best and stop fucking about, to put it bluntly. Stop trying all the fancy shit. Stop fucking sticking with one attacking intent, one attacking idea. Mix it about. The best teams mix it about. You don't just play one way. Come on, to fuck.
No, I fully agree, Paddy. We need a plan B, as we're saying. We need to try something different. We talked about Wim Jansen last week, and it was magnificent when I was younger watching Wim Jansen's team. As I said, 10 minutes into a game, that guy could understand that the game plan wasn't working, and he would change it, and it would bamboozle the opponents. We need to see that again. We need to see Ange recognise that plan A, the first tactic, the out ball to the wings to cross it in, wasn't working. Change it. We need to see that happen.
I think we have seen Ange learning, but it's almost reactionary learning. He seems to be learning after the game. He's not learning during the game.
Yeah.
From my perspective. But as Tam Mac says in the comments, he's fucking raging. And guess what, Tam Mac? So am I.
Yeah, back at you, Tam. Back at you. So what have we got coming up next then, Paddy? What's next for us?
We are hopefully going to be back on Tuesday with the weekly roundup. So we'll go into a lot more detail about that. Out.
Unexpected visitor there, Paddy.
Out. Aye, sorry. Aye, so we're going to be back on Tuesday.
The joys of live recording.
I know. We're going to be back on Tuesday with the weekly roundup, and we'll go into a bit more depth and detail about the day. We'll speak about other things that we didn't really make time for the day, which was the Green Brigade statement today.
The good points to be made on that one, I feel, coming up on the weekly roundup.
And by the way, can I just congratulate the GB? I thought they were great today. I thought their point was very well put, and I thought that their noise after the 30-minute protest was excellent. And I can also say, by the way, in the Green Brigade's absence of noise, it was great to hear the young kids in the Kano Foundation. They
were putting on a good bit.
Aye, they were the impromptu junior capos for the day.
So the wee get was pretty good with the come on, you boys in green.
It was great to hear them. I've sat in with them gratefully, and great to hear the young kids who's going to be the future of the Celtic support. But I think we're going to wrap that up there, mate. So thanks very much to the viewers for tuning in, for your comments. If you can give us a wee like, subscribe on YouTube. It's the Jungle Gyms podcast. You can follow us on Twitter at Jungle Gyms Pod. Please join our Facebook group page, the Jungle Gyms Podcast. And after every single recording, you can also listen to us on Spotify. So, again, thanks very much for your time, McGinty. Thanks for the viewers. See you next week.
I would like to make one last point just before we go off there, Paddy. Just as Gavin, our usual resident host, points out, we've now made 100 subs on our YouTube channel. So to all the subscribers and followers on Twitter and so forth, thank you very much, guys. Those of you on Facebook as well, thank you very much for the support. And here's to the next 100.
Thanks very much.
All the best. Hail, hail.